Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. Keith, how's it going?
Not bad, mate. You?
I'm very good, thanks.
You perked up since last night?
It was a sole run for Scottish football, I think.
Yes.
Look, obviously, any other...
It was a very late night, wasn't it?
That was a late night, aye. Any other week, Celtic getting a draw in the circumstances they did away to Bayern Munich would be our top story.
Yeah.
But we go live tonight with potentially huge news for Rangers and their supporters.
Yeah,
Tell us
and
more.
for Scottish
And for
football in
Scottish
general.
football, of course, aye.
Do you know what, Daniel? I got an email today from HR, and that's never a good thing in my experience, right?
That's a weekly thing we use, isn't it?
Sharp intake of breath. And the email went on to say, congratulations, this is your 30th anniversary of working for the newspaper. Now, the reason that I mention that is this story has potentially as much significance as any that I've been involved in over that period. Certainly up there with the top 4 or 5. Daily Record has learned that Rangers are at the centre of a US-led takeover bid, which is being backed by the San Francisco 49ers. And obviously, they have huge financial clout. It's a potential game changer. We've talked for a while in the studio about what Rangers need. I've been saying for a while they've actually needed a recalibration, some sort of regime change, something fresh. And the thing is, Daniel, that this isn't early days stuff. The information that I receive, my sources tell me that these talks are now at an advanced stage, and something is potentially imminent. Amazed that it can be this late in the day without it, leaking out from somewhere, but now it has, I guess. It's the potential ramifications for Rangers are massive, and I think it's probably a bit of news that the Rangers supporters have been crying out for. We were talking about a bit of apathy and a bit of, a feeling that the club had lost all sense of direction, was no longer competitive. Well, if this comes to fruition, and I strongly suspect that it's going to, that should give Rangers the shake-up that they need.
Yeah. And then some. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it involves... Let's get the whole thing straight from the get-go. There is an involvement from the San Francisco 49ers in terms of they are backing this deal.
And just to jump in there, Keith, like, I'm a novice when it comes to NFL, American football.
Yeah, well, so am I, actually.
But the 49ers, I mean, that's like
they're a global brand.
The Man United.
They're huge.
Aye.
They're huge. So let me just read you what I've got here. Crisis hit Rangers at the centre of potentially transformative US-led takeover bid, and a deal which see them bankrolled by the enormous financial muscle of the San Francisco 49ers. The Daily Record has learned top-level discussions over a multi-million-pound investment began before the turn of the year, and they are now believed to be in an advanced stage. If an agreement can be thrashed out, the Ibrox club stand to benefit from a major cash injection, which would then fund a spending splurge in the summer transfer market. Sources from south of the border have confirmed one of the key men behind the proposals is Leeds United chairman Parag Marath, the man in charge of the NFL Giants investment arm 49ers Enterprises. And this is where the 49ers come in.
Yeah.
I believe that this has been put forward perhaps by... I'm not saying that the 49ers are in the driving seat here. They might be in the passenger seat. The information is coming to us. We're working on this. This is legitimately a breaking story. But the information we have at this minute in time is an American consortium which will include at least one other high net worth individual who may have been driving these talks, but it's certainly with the backing and the knowledge of the 49ers. And listen, it is what it is. It's potentially huge.
Yeah. And just to emphasise, you said this yourself a moment ago, but this isn't just interest. This is talks at an advanced stage.
Yeah. I believe it stretches way back into, towards the end of last year. So you're potentially talking now, I don't know, about 4 months worth of talks, negotiations behind the scenes that this has been going on. So it's not just something that's just come to light or somebody that's just come to the table and expressed an interest. This has been detailed.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of discussions on this one. and it's getting to the point now that, you know, there could be something very, very shortly. I would expect a statement of some sort to at least confirm that some sort of talks, offer, or, you know, potential deal is being formulated.
Yeah, some sort of reaction.
And look, with these things, you never know if they're going to get over the line or not. There was previously American interest in Rangers, and that kind of faded away, but it never got to this stage, not even remotely close to this stage, which is an indicator for where this is standing right now, and its potential.
Aye, it could be absolutely huge. And I should say, if you're watching at home, please get in touch if you've got any questions about this. One of the questions that I have, Keith, just off the top of my head, is that there was a little bit of Rangers news aside from this today. The 18 million shares that have been issued.
That's got nothing to do with this.
Aye, okay.
I saw that this morning, but that was something that was approved at the AGM, it was just a short-term kind of fundraiser.
Yeah.
Involving the current shareholders. It's nothing to do...
Completely independent of this.
Completely, you can't conflate the two. So I think, you know, I think it was wrongly reported as well that Rangers had raised £18 million out of it. I don't think that was the case at all. I think it was 18 million shares
conflated
that sold at 20 pence.
Yeah.
So it was 3.6. And I think what that is remember back in the day when Rangers used to go to a place called Ticketus with disastrous ramifications. And it was to get enough money to get through operationally until the end of the season, because before you could renew season tickets. I think that's largely what that was, and a conversion of some loans into equity. So there's nothing to do with that. This is a completely fresh thing. And it's really interesting because obviously Parag Marath, he's been in at Leeds, and now this is what's going to be fascinating. When the 49ers through Marath went into Leeds United, it was a gradual kind of takeover. I think initially they went in with a 15% stake. I think over a year or so they increased that to 44%, and then in the summer of 2023 they bought it all out, 100% of the club. And Leeds were obviously going down, I think, at the time when they became initially involved. But since 2023, Leeds are a club on the up. They're sitting currently, they beat Sunderland on Monday night. They're in the driving seat now for promotion back into the English Premier League. And they've got an interesting player trading model. I think they've raised something like £150 million from sales over the last year or so. I think the 49ers were criticised by some fans for that because they felt they were cashing in their chips and kind of sacrificing any chance of promotion this season. But it seems to have gone quite well so far. There is another kind of spin-off for this, which I think Leeds benefit from, which is that the 49ers have, as you could well imagine, really advanced sort of player recruitment. You know, the stuff, the Tony Bloom stuff. Well, the 49ers are kind of leading the market in that in America. I think Leeds have plugged into that sort of player recruitment technology, data-driven stuff, and it's working for them. And you know, you look at Rangers and they do feel dated and they feel stale, and something like this, you know, could be transformative for them. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think the next few days are going to be really interesting. There's more to find out, lots more to find out. As I said, this is breaking for us. We can only go with what's in front of us right now. But the information that we're talking about right now is 100% correct. And where it goes from here, well, I can't predict the future, but I think it's going to be fascinating in terms of finding out, well, who else might be involved in this? What exactly sums are we talking about? I believe that there will be a sort of cash advance involved, which would then become available for Rangers to use in the next transfer window in the summer. So right away, you can see...
This should be badly needed, you'd have to say.
Well, I'll be really interested to see what the response is like from the fans out there tonight, because, you know, if I'm right, this is something that the Rangers fans have been crying out for a while.
Oh, look, I mean, Davey, who I assume is a Rangers fan, simply says, "Hi guys, I hope this is true."
It's true, Davey.
It's true. This one from Rangers Easy OK. think the difference between this and Kelly Fox is the 49ers have real financial power. We badly need this, so hoping this can go through.
Well, you talk about real financial power, right? And I hesitate. I don't know why I'm going down this road, but obviously I was once involved in covering another previous Rangers takeover. Yeah, and the scars of which have never quite healed, right? And I might have used a phrase about wealth off the radar, etc., etc.
There might be a couple of people commenting that.
I'm sure there will be, and I was fully predictable. But I think what I can say with some justification on this one, the 49ers are bankrolled and owned by the York family in the States. And they are bona fide. They're not kidding on ones from Motherwell. So that is the size of this. It is huge. It is the potential to be a real game changing moment.
And you'd have to say as well. Look, they're not getting involved to lose. If they get involved, they're here to make a difference.
I believe that they see this, and we've talked about it previously. There are always Americans and these groups, these consortiums from all around the world, scouring Europe for the perfect club, for the one that they think would be the right fit. Premier League clubs are now just unaffordable unless you're a state-owned, oil-rich nation, right? So where can you find a club that can guarantee you annual access into European competition? Now, be that may in the Champions League or in the Europa League, Rangers are nailed on to be playing in European football. There's not many clubs around Europe which offer that as a guarantee, and I think that's where it's always been a really viable commercial enterprise, and why I'm surprised it's taken this long for somebody to step in and see that.
I mean, David Gillespie is one of just a few people in the comments saying there's no money to be made by a Scottish football club. You're investing into a bottomless pit. Only a mug would believe this. But look, Rangers are, at the end of the day, still one of the biggest clubs in the UK. Make no mistake about it. I mean, how many clubs get...
And, by the way, they're not competing against English Premier League clubs for European places. And that is key, because European football is where the potential investors see where money can be made. I think what they've put in place at Leeds is different, that they know they can make a ton of money just by getting into the English Premier League and staying in it. I think
just by being in it,
yeah. But I think the plan, as far as I can see, for Leeds United and Parad McGrath have made it clear, was to not just get back into the English Premier League, but to then consolidate and do a Brighton, be one of these clubs that...
Leeds are a big club as well.
They are a really big club.
Historically.
And what the plan is there is to keep them in, just so you're not going to be yo-yoing, you're going to be staying in the English Premier League. That's where the resources are at, that's where the cash is at. For Rangers, it's obviously slightly different. Not a lot of money would be made domestically in Scottish football, but there's big money. Listen, Celtic, I think, before I came on, I was just doing a wee bit of research there, and we kind of knew this figure before the start of the Champions League campaign, but I think it's just about verifiable now that Celtic will take in bank somewhere between 50 and 60 million pounds.
It's incredible,
from competing in this season's Champions League all
from
in.
one campaign.
Yeah. So it shows there is money to be made. Nobody's pretending for a second that the Scottish Premier League equals the English Premier League. But yeah, I mean, as I said, there are, and it has been known for some time, that there are groups of potential investors, consortiums, all around the world who are always looking for the next opportunity. And I think Rangers have landed really lucky. If this is the 49ers, if they're going to put their cash and their sort of financial muscle behind this, I think it puts Rangers in a much better position than they were yesterday.
Yeah. Look, there's plenty of questions around this. This one, though, from Scott in Berlin is one that I was going to ask you myself, Keith. He says, this could save Clement's job. So the question is, and I get him putting you in the spot a bit here, but where does this leave Philip Clement and Patrick Stewart's talking today?
In the big picture, I don't think Philip Clement, with all due respect, is a bit of an afterthought here. I think if Walt was talking about the potential here for regime change and a takeover and a swapping of a transfer of the boardroom power, then Philip Clement's pretty low down the to-do list. I think this is fundamental change. Patrick Stewart did an interview today funnily enough, he was meant to be communicating with fans. He's omitted the fact that there's a potential American takeover on the cards. These things happen, he's forgetful. There's a lot to remember.
I knew there was something I should mention.
Yeah, I was meant to go to the shops, wasn't I? So that's an awkward one as well for Patrick Stewart. You would think that Rangers will have to make an announcement of sorts, and very, very shortly now that we've broken this news. But during the interview, Patrick Stewart was talking about Clement and saying, well, you know, what's the point in fixing the roof when it's the foundations that are eroding here? And I get that. Mm-hmm. I would have come back to, and as I said previously, well, that's fine, but first and foremost to the supporters, to the ones that are bankrolling the whole thing, results are the priority, and the results are not good enough. And the Queen's Park, you know, Scottish Cup defeat was an absolute calamity. But, and maybe this is where I'll give Patrick Stewart his due, maybe this explains what was previously inexplicable. Maybe when we're sitting in here going, how did Philip Clement survive that?
Why is
Where has Patrick Stewart gone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Patrick Stewart knew that this was bubbling under and that there's the potential here for fundamental change, then I would agree that what happens with Philip Clement can be pushed onto the back burner. This is far bigger. Mm-hmm. These are the big fish to fry, and Philip Clement, in relative terms, is a bit of a tiddler.
Well, I mean, Craig Ferguson writes in saying that Patrick Stewart needs to confirm if he knew about this prior to the release today.
I'd be very surprised if Patrick Stewart didn't know about this.
Aye, exactly. Look, the other thing that I want to, and I get this might shock everyone at home, but neither you or I are financial experts, but we've got a lot of people writing in. John,
my wife will certainly testify.
John says, what about financial fair play and profit sustainability regulation, guys? A big fly in the ointment. And William Sloan, assuming this is real, do FFP rules allow for money just to be given? Doesn't have to be generated by the club itself?
Listen, I'm not going to dig into that. What I do know is that the 49ers are fairly serious people in the global sporting market. That, you know, look, the Saudis bought Newcastle, the wealthiest owners anywhere in football, and Newcastle haven't been able to benefit from that because they can't go and just splash the cash willy-nilly. It'll be something similar. And also, if you look at what they've done at Leeds, they've not gone in there and spent absolute millions and gone crazy on it. It's strategic stuff. It's money better spent, and it is resources that Rangers don't have right now. You know, look, there will be certain kind of rules and regulations which need to be adhered to, but you're not talking about some Cowboys here.
Aye.
Well, that'd be the Dallas Cowboys, when that's the wrong franchise. These people are smart thinkers, and as I'm saying, this isn't something that's been rushed through in the last few days. This has been worked upon behind the scenes for a period of weeks, extending into months, and you would expect, the way that Americans are with stuff like this, the lawyers will be all over it.
Yeah.
And that's why, without that, you don't get to the point where I can say these talks are at an advanced stage.
Yeah. And I would make...
This is the opposite of being the advanced stage is the opposite of what it would be if it was just something that somebody thought of yesterday afternoon.
Yeah. And I would make the point as well, just going back to the FFP stuff. Look, no one's sitting here saying, oh, they're going to 100 million in the next transfer window or something like that. But look, I don't think you can emphasise it enough. Rangers at the minute, I mean, they've got no money. Look at the January transfer window.
I think the numbers involved, now, I don't know, we're speculating here, but I don't think anybody's suggesting for a single second that somebody's going to roll into town and say, there's £100 million, go and have fun with the transfer. It'll not work like that.
Aye. But what I'm saying is Rangers right now need all the help they can get, is what I'm saying. Even if it's limited.
They are, you know, having to scrimp and scrape and kind of rummage around the bargain barrel just now, haven't they? I don't think that would necessarily be the case if this deal gets pulled off.
Aye.
And by the way, I say if, I am pretty confident that it's more likelihood of going through than not. And I say that because I keep coming back to it. I believe that this is all fairly advanced.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can get to that stage without there being a willingness to strike some sort of agreement on all sides.
Very interesting indeed.
It is complicated.
Yeah.
And it'll be a really complicated deal because when they took over at Leeds United, they had basically one guy that was the major shareholder, and he owned just about all of it. The Rangers, kind of the configuration of major shareholders means that this will be really complicated, complex, because there's not one guy to have to deal with. I think Dave King owns around 13%, Douglas Park 12%, George Taylor holds just over 10%, Stuart Gibson's not far behind that, John Bennett and around 7%. Then you've got directors Julian Walthart and John Halstead share a combined stake of just over 12%. Now, this was a deliberate configuration because they wanted to make sure it was never going to again be in a position where one guy could dictate one guy. But in actual fact, in the reality of that, I could understand the thinking behind it. The reality has been a hodgepodge of egos and ideas and different directions and big egos, as I said, big egos. It's led to arguments, it's led to friction, it's led to fractures. There are people who originally were part of this whole thing who now can't speak to one another on a personal level, never mind a professional level. It hasn't worked. And I don't know. You will need to see, as I said, is it similar to what happened at Leeds? That Parag Marath went in and it was originally 15 and they scaled it up to 44 and it was all gradually built up, or is this something different? It remains to be seen. As I said, it's breaking, it's early days in terms of getting this information out here. We can only tell you what we know, and the rest will probably be a bit speculative, but the meat and bones of what we're saying here, I know to be correct.
Yeah. As you can probably imagine, there's a lot of scepticism from Celtic fans.
I thought there might.
Marzuno's saying, I'm getting deja vu here. Another American billionaire saviour. And Paul says, here we go again. A big sugar daddy. Can't wait to invest all their money in a busted flush. Actually, that kind of ties in with what I finally wanted to ask you about this is, just from your point of view, getting a story like this, working on a story like this, how long does it take? How much work do you need to put in before you are 100% sure you can come to the table like you are right now and going, this is the story?
Yeah, listen,
it takes a while.
And even then, you doubt yourself, but this is the process of information gathering isn't necessarily an easy one, and it takes a bit of ducking and diving, and relying on information and stuff. But as I said, this originally started to leak out from down south. It takes 2 or 3 days of pretty serious work to try and solidify it and get it to the point that you're happy to go to print with it. That's where I am just now. I know there'll be scepticism. I realise that because there will be an element of this that some Rangers fans might think it's too good to be true. Some Celtic fans will think, come on.
No chance there.
But let's see what the next few days brings.
Aye, absolutely. Well, look, if you're watching at home, we've had tons of comments already, but please get in touch. Let us know your thoughts. Even if you are a sceptic or if you've got any questions you want to ask, please do so in the comment section below.
It's worth saying here, by the way, I'm just looking as well, that in the summer of 2023, that's when the 49ers bought out Leeds lock, stock and barrel for 100%. That deal was worth 170 million quid.
Yeah.
So they're not frightened of big numbers.
Yeah. And someone as well pointing out in the comment section, I've lost it now, but saying that, they've won the second most Super Bowls in NFL history. So it really is, you're talking about the top of the tree here in American sports.
Yeah, I think they've not had the greatest of times in more recent years. I think
a bit like Man United, I said earlier now.
Yeah, and even a bit like Rangers,
Of course, I
think down in the lot. I think 70s and 80s was, and my knowledge of NFL is not terrific, but I think that was kind of boom time for them, and they've struggled a bit. But I think the York family took over at the turn of the century, and I think they bought it for odds and ends, and it's now worth $6 billion. So they certainly know how to grow a business.
Right, which is no bad, eh? And John, look, this is last thing on this because I know we could go round the houses, but John pointing out there could be a link up between Leeds United and Rangers in the cards to fudge the financial fair play rules. Look, I think you've said it, we can't really see that far down the road, but who knows? Who knows at this stage?
Well, who knows if they're going to fudge the financial fair play rules, Daniel?
No, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? There could be... who knows? There could be a link.
That's what the rules and regulations and the authorities are all there to protect against. I mean, even, for example, right, and I've said that Parag Marath is involved in this, which he is. But it'll be fascinating to discover how much involvement he has because of he's the chairman of Leeds.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. Would he be able to?
Is it a conflict of interest
to take a seat or have an influence? Or is that the 49ers Enterprises who would then appoint somebody else if it was a conflict? But we've seen, you know, it's funny, the landscape has changed recently where you've got the Bournemouth and Hibs and Brighton and Hearts and Union Saint-Gilloise that more and more, even Ineos at Man United. So that'll be interesting to see as well. I can only assume that the lawyers and all that have been all over this, and that before getting to the point where you're at advanced stage of discussions, you're pretty sure in your, you know, the terra firma under your feet, what you're allowed to do, what you have to do, what you need to do. And as I said, there's more to come in this story in terms of who else might be involved in this consortium, who's going to take the lead. It could be, and I'd rather suspect, that Parag Marath has been in the passenger seat and somebody else has been driving the negotiations. So lots to discover. This is just the start of the information getting out there. And, you know, I know there'll be a lot of people out there doubting us, but if you want to keep up to date with it and you want to know the facts as we uncover them, then this is where to get them. This hasn't happened without a bit of work on our part.
Of course, I mean, you talked there about, you know, they have to be, you know, certain of what they're saying. You know, that's the same with you. Before you cut, you know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, we wouldn't be sitting here right now if you weren't positive. And look, our old pal Gianni has picked up. He says, passing after your shift, Keith. My group chat's going wild for this. Give me the inside scoop. And he says, Pizza Jackson on the house. Listen, there's a lot of talk about this pizza. Gianni, if you want to send one into the Record Sport HQ.
He did do it. He actually did.
No, I wasn't here, was
Put
I?
a pizza on the. No, not in here.
Oh, not in here, didn't you?
No, I went to Sally's for that. No, but he did. He put a Pizza Jackson on the specials menu in the restaurant, and it's my creation, and I think it was universally acclaimed as the best thing that he'd sold that kind of week.
What?
It's salsicha and cooked ham.
That's pretty nice and
spot on.
Aye.
Yeah.
Look, we can, as I say, talk about this forever. I should say, if you want to stay on top of this story as it grows and grows, as it runs and runs, Record Sport is the only place to stay on top of it.
We're online just now. Obviously, there'll be stuff in the paper tomorrow. We'll be back here tomorrow. I think this could become a very fast-moving story now. I think now that the sort of lid's been blown off, I expect things to move quite quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, that is the big news of today. But I do think we should check in with Celtic because, you know, it's not every day.
There was a small matter of.
Aye. It's not every day you go seconds from taking Bayern Munich, a winning Bayern Munich, and take them into extra time. Look, I know we did a show late last night, but 24 hours on, what's your kind of thoughts on that result last night?
Similar to what they were last night.
Aye. In fact, sorry, before we go into that, do you want to hear from Brendan Rodgers?
It was a gut punch.
Well, why don't we hear from Brendan Rodgers, because we obviously didn't have that last night. Here's what he had to say.
Brendan, just on the goal itself, was there an instant in the build-up, maybe perhaps a foul on Maida? What did you make of it at that moment?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of probably our inexperience at this level. Ubi Meccano's clever. He picks him up because if he stays down, and it was a knock on the head, I felt the referee should have gave the free kick anyway, or certainly stopped the game. And maybe a more experienced player or team might have stayed down, and then the referee has to stop the game. But he didn't. He played on, and then eventually, obviously, they get the goal. So yeah, we were disappointed that we obviously didn't get that in the build-up. European credibility was always going to be important for us this season. That's my takeaway from this campaign over the 10 games. We learned some valuable lessons along the way. We played some amazing football along the way, and we've taken a club of this size and magnitude, and a club where one of the players is maybe more than our budget to buy players what they might be on in salary. So that and everything that comes with that it allows us to build. I think last year I felt that we had developed, even though we never got the points. I thought performance-wise it was good. I think this season it's been very good. We've made the progress that made me want to come back. And now we've got to finish the season off strong. Got 2 titles to go for. Get into the Champions League next season. Look to build the squad again. And my unswerving plan is to make this a season club at this level, where we can go and really hurt big opponents like Bayern Munich.
Darren Keith in the comment section says, guys, I'm a Rangers man. What an effort from Celtic last night. Absolutely outstanding. Marzuno points out the referee was actually brilliant. Apart from that, he let the game flow, not blowing for dives and niggles. I mean, the Maeda incident, what do you think of it?
Right, first things first. Maeda is at the back of
Upamecano.
And you can see Upamecano putting out his arm. I think he's feeling, where is he?
Mm-hmm.
Because and by the way, if I was up against Maeda, I'd be doing something similar. I don't think he's deliberately trying to foul him, but he makes contact. He makes contact, right? So therefore, it could be a foul.
Aye.
Yeah, I think the most kind of valid point of the lot is the one that Brendan Rodgers makes there.
A bit naive.
Well, yeah,
Or
stay down,
Aye.
stay down.
Aye.
And I think that's where Upamecano's been very clever, getting back up to his feet. Let's get this on. If he stays down, I think the referee has to stop it if it's a head injury. And the fact that he's looked round and he's back on his feet means that play can continue. I think that's the most salient point of all.
And I don't get why VAR didn't get involved. I mean, you assume maybe behind the scenes they did, and
it could be they have silent reviews. They maybe looked at it and they've said what I've said there. It's not a blatant. He's not went out and hooked him. He's feeling, and he's definitely caught him in the face.
Aye. I think I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's deliberate. Maybe a touch shot. I think that's a foul though. I think he's caught him. He's clumsy. Same guy that I think quite clumsily in the first leg lands on Arne Engels' foot.
Mm-hmm. I know you've not forgiven him for that.
I know. Listen, it'll be a while. Look, a lot of comments coming in on this as well. Was definitely a foul, but proud of the boys. Just need to be more clinical. Excellent performance and heartbreaking ending. John as well saying, I was so proud of Celtic's performance last night. We were out on our legs near the end and would probably have gone out in extra time anyway. We should have signed a top striker in January. I know we touched on that a little bit last night. But 24 hours on, I mean, do you change your opinion at all? Maybe if Kyle goes in the middle instead of Maeda in the first half?
Well, he'd probably be in a treatment table just now with a bad shoulder, wouldn't he?
True, aye.
Look, I get it, but I keep coming back to it. You know, Celtic had a decision to make, and there was an element of a gamble to lose their top goal scorer in the January transfer window when there was still a domestic league campaign to win, even though you'd need to be a bit glass half empty at that point to think we could lose this.
Yeah,
but you just don't know.
Yeah.
So that was where the gamble was. I don't think anybody realistically looked at 2 legs against Bayern Munich thinking Kyogo might nick one here.
Aye.
Now, people might point to that as being a lack of ambition, and maybe they'll have a point. And certainly, what I said last night, my overwhelming takeaway from that game was Celtic fans should now, yes, the pain is there. It was a sore way to get eliminated from the Champions League. But for me, it's got to be, look at what this team...
The progression.
Look at the progression it's made.
Aye.
What might this team be capable of achieving next year under this manager with another transfer window? And so that for me, Celtic they've come of age. I said that after Bergamo. They now look like a team that is really equipped streetwise. I think that's a really important part of it.
Yeah.
And capable of taking a game to anybody at this level now, in any arena. That's a massive progression.
Yeah.
And I think for Celtic, look, there will be an argument, and I'd probably make it myself, that if Brendan Rodgers is planning for the qualifiers for the next Champions League, he could probably do with having the guy that he sees as being his next kind of first choice striker in the squad for 6 months.
Aye.
For 6 months.
Aye.
To get him properly embedded, up to speed, and get him, just familiarised with the other players and the style of play.
Aye.
That and Celtic will stand accused of missing a trick with that one, and I can't disagree. And I do think it is curious to sell your top scorer at that point in the season, but I don't think. I think we're looking for people to blame and things to complain about in terms of, were Celtic realistically going to get through against Bayern Munich, Kyogo or not Kyogo? After watching the two games, maybe. But
aye. Well, that's the thing. But before the two games, you could be forgiven for thinking like, Celtic can go away to Bayern Munich. They might just get one really good chance, two maybe. What did they get last night? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
And had you known that, maybe you'd have kept Kyogo, but there was no way to know.
But you know what? Who cares? This is actually boring because it's been done. It's been done. Now, there might be people who won't forget it and they might look at it and say, well, this is a lack of forward planning. Celtic should have a striker. I'm not going to disagree with that because I said it myself. If you're going to sell your top goal scorer, you better have one lined up to come back in. And they botched that a little bit. Let's be brutally honest. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, and I said it last night, the first chance Maeda gets sliding in after the brilliant move that Engels fires it across the 6-yard box. You look at that and you go, whoa, if that's Adam Maeda, he's probably a foot taller.
Aye.
He's probably got the levers to reach that.
Aye. And even that one where you tried to lift.
But it's all just all these ifs and buts in it. Look, do you know what? I come back to what I said right at the start of last night. Celtic can walk out of this with their heads held more than high. Their reputation has been restored. Brendan Rodgers will feel as if his reputation on the European stage has been restored.
Yep.
This is a good news story and it should be treated as that.
Aye.
Can Celtic get better? Well, I think they've got a manager that can make them better. Mm-hmm. And that would excite me if I was looking forward to next season, because I can't remember the last time Celtic walked away from the end of a European campaign thinking, I can't wait to do that again, because it's been traumatic.
Yeah.
This has been the opposite of that.
Absolutely.
It was traumatic one night in Dortmund,
Aye.
but the progression that's been made since then suggests very, very strongly that Celtic will be even better equipped, more experienced and more capable of putting up a genuine fight next time round. I think that's something to be excited about.
Right, and I was saying last night that I genuinely believe Celtic have got an elite manager, and I would stand by that. Just very finally in Celtic, on the team, Marzino here saying they kept their plan to target Taylor down the left, but Schlupp stood up to it well. Is Schlupp now first choice left back?
Well, a lot of people made that snap decision last night immediately after the game, didn't they? That they prefer Schlupp to Greg Taylor. I can certainly see from the physical attributes why you might kind of want that to be the case. Look, yeah, there's a very strong case now, and not least because Greg Taylor will walk away from that one last night going, well, I used to be first choice here.
Aye.
And he's not sorted out his contractual situation, and you know that Kieran Tierney's coming back in the summer.
And Schlupp looked really good.
It does look a little bit like Greg Taylor might be the backup until he moves away, and then Kieran Tierney comes in as first choice left back, with Schlupp as a backup to him.
Aye.
Greg Taylor, he's got a couple of years on Jeffrey Schlupp, doesn't he? So
Schlupp's 32, yeah.
I don't know. I think there is, and I've said it for a while, I think there's a lot of Celtic fans out there that for some reason just can't take to Greg Taylor, and I've said to you before,
I don't really get that either.
Well, I think it's because his name's not Kieran Tierney.
Aye, okay.
And I think
Fair
it's
point.
always been the case.
Aye.
And I think he's paid a bit of a price for that unfairly. I think he's been brilliant for Celtic. I think they've been brilliant for him. But yeah, you just wonder if that last night is a little indication of where the manager's mind is at in terms of who's going to be his first choice left back to keep that position warm for Kieran Tierney.
Yeah. And Billy Fitch, I think it's a nice way to sum up Celtic. He says everyone was at least a 9 out of 10 for Celtic last night, which I do think, is not over-exaggerating it at all.
No, I agree. I think we said so last night as well.
Aye.
Where were you, Billy? On your bed?
Aye, absolutely. What a packed show it's been.
Busy.
Absolutely.
We did suggest last night that
We
this show might be
give a little hint, didn't we?
Yeah.
But I think that brings us to the end of tonight's show. Unless there's anything you want to add, any other exclusive you've got up your sleeve?
Nothing, unless, hold on, I'll check my phone. No, nothing appears to have happened in the last 30 minutes. But I'm telling you, the way this thing has been moving over the last couple of days, I expect something will have changed by this time tomorrow when we're sitting back in this studio and we'll be able to put a little bit more meat in the bones.
And when it does change, you can find it all on
This
Record
is where
Sport
you'll
Online
find it.
and on Hotline Live, of course. Keith, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy your pizza if you stop by Gianni's tonight.
No chance.
Okay. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for all your comments. We really appreciate it. As Keith says, we'll be back to do it all at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Hope you can join us then. Cheers.